And
Hello.
ladies and gentlemen, live from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, it is the Smokin Tabacco Show. I am Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I'm joined once again by my very good friend, Mr. Jonathan M. Carney from the Flor Dominicana, as well as my new fiance, Smokin Nicole, is right here next to me. And before we go any further, John Carney, hello. Congratulations. I heard you got engaged.
Yes. Congratulations, John.
Congratulations to both of you. I did get engaged, but before we get into anything about that stuff, thank you. But I feel like I haven't been on the show for like ever.
It's true. You haven't been on
Yeah,
forever.
it's been a little
sure,
while. Right? It's been a little while, but you know, we you know, you're here now. I mean, that's what matters, right? You know, I mean, it's you got other things going on. I get it.
I guess all those other shows were just irrelevant.
Oh God, are we really gonna start it? Are we really gonna get into this right away?
We'll save it. We'll get into that in a little bit.
So yeah, it's been a few weeks. I'm glad to be back. I've been watching the shows on my own. On the time there, I just had a lot going on. We had two events, I think, and then there was a screw up, and one of the events didn't quite work out well with the live broadcast. So we did it the next Thursday, but I'm here. I'm back. There's tons to talk about. You all are still live in Vegas, which
Yes.
is great.
We are.
Yes.
And I think there's an endless amount of things for us to talk about tonight. And the best thing is there's an endless amount of things for me to give my opinion about. So this should be a really exciting show.
So we do have. Normally, I don't have a time limit on the show, but we do have dinner reservations, and then we're going to see Penn and Teller at the Rio.
Yes.
So we are going to be done by, 9 o'clock time over there? 6
Yeah.
o'clock. So we have like good 2 hours. If we can't get a lot of done in 2 hours, I don't think we're going to get to all of it. But if we can't make a dent in 2 hours, I don't know what. So I guess whatever's left over, we'll have to get to on Spare Notes with William Cooper, who also I know has a lot to say about what just happened over the last couple of days.
By the way, 2 hours? 2 hours? That's more than enough time for our show.
I
know.
think we're fine.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying we don't have to rush. We have plenty of time. We'll take it slow ride.
Take it easy. It sounds like the two of you have potentially been partaking in some adult beverages.
Okay, so we.
Well, it is Las Vegas.
It is Las Vegas. We downed 2 margaritas before the show. Sorry, guys. So we're a little bit wild, and I have this bottle of Corbel celebrating our engagement.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a celebratory time. It's a celebratory city.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be. I think I'm gonna be the only one smoking because I'm assuming you all don't have a smoking room there.
No, we couldn't get one here. So
I did just have a cigar, but.
Cool. So I'm gonna light something up right now. I'm lighting up the Regency Cigar Emporium in East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
Ooh.
I'm lighting up the 25th anniversary Maduro, which will be available for our July 28th gourmet smoke session. This is the Maduro version. We also have a natural version. So this is really cool. It looks awesome. It's based off our Oro blend.
Okay.
And, this is actually our Oro Maduro blend that we have there that we've made for them. And the Oro Maduro is the one in the gold tubes.
Yep.
And I believe if we have our segment for that, that's a cigar that can be found on twoguyscigars.com. The Oro, the LFD Oro. So that's a really nice smoke, and I'm looking forward to trying this. This is the second one that I've smoked, and I'm the only one other than Tony and Lito who has physically smoked this, and I've been bragging to the owner of the store today that I've been smoking the cigar, and he's not. So there we go. Regency Cigar Emporium. It's our Oro blend, and you can find the Oro in the meantime at our friends at twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com.
2.
guyscigars.com. Yeah, so I mean, obviously the elephant in the room is, the two of us attended the Premium Cigar Association Trade Show 2021, which began last Saturday. The festivities began Friday, but the show itself began Saturday and it ran through Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things that happened that we can get into in terms of there's drama that happened. There's some good things that came of the show. There's some interesting, odd things that came. I won't say bad, but there's some odd things that came of the show. There's a few problems that need to be addressed.
And we want Carney's take on it.
And as you guys know, La Flor Dominicana did not attend the trade show, and I want to make this clear, and John can obviously defend himself as well as the company here. on a serious note, they did not attend. They did not exhibit. But John, from what we've talked about, that was a business decision based on operations and stuff like that within the company, not because there was any other reason to not attend the trade show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we weren't trying to prove a point. It was a very busy, challenging last 16 months, and it's still challenging with all sorts of businesses in terms of availability of products, supply and demand. Like I went to try to buy with my fiance. I went to try and buy a Bosch dishwasher for the last 3 months. I just can't get one. It's because there's too many orders. They can't produce them fast enough. So our focus this year was really to get our factory back to full production. And we literally just did that over the last 10 days. So it's going to take some time. And really a trade show where you'd be displaying new products, having specials or deals. We don't traditionally do a lot of those. But where you're incentivizing sales really was going to detract from our ability and Lito's ability and Tony's ability and all of our ability to get the factory back to where it needed to be. And the benefit that we saw was for us stepping away from that was going to allow us to focus on that and get the cigars for our retailers, which is what they really needed. Now, are there things that we would like to see improve? Yeah, absolutely. There's things we'd like to see improve with everything, most certainly. But that was the very small portion of what it was. And I'll be honest, it was fun to kind of watch the show from a different view. I certainly missed the social side of it. I miss seeing the large amount of retailers that we get to see. I know that it was probably a lighter year in terms of attendance, just naturally because of COVID, stepping out from that. So even then, it's still the largest get-together of premium cigar retailers in the world. So it was, I missed that side of it. But it was interesting to watch it from afar. But there was some stuff. I got some comments and I got some opinions on things. So when we get into that and you're ready, I'm ready to go. I'm not gonna roll any punches.
Well, I would say I'm gonna give probably my I'll try to be as brief as I can without wasting too much time and whatnot. But because there's a lot of stuff that happened, but I'll give my brief rundown of the trade show itself as a whole. So I would say the first thing is the most anticipated person or booth or company, whatever, to exhibit at the trade show had to be Michael Herklotz and Ferio Tego. Now, everyone knows, or at least if in the industry, if you're not in the industry, you haven't heard, if you've heard of Nat Sherman obviously closed up shop last year, including the townhouse, which, it was an old company. They've been around a long time, a lot of history there, and they made some great stuff, but they closed up shop, and Michael Herklotz was actually able to form a new company called Ferio Tego, which is the name of his family coat of arms, which means loosely what Michael has said, it means I strike, I defend, and the logo is their family crest. So, and he will be bringing back a lot of the lines from Nat Sherman, such as like Metropolitan, Timeless, from the same factories. They're going to have the same look, the same band. The only thing is that's going to be different, Michael claims, will be that it'll, instead of be saying exclusively made for Nat Sherman International, it'll say made exclusively for Ferio Tego. He claims it'll be nothing more than just a hiccup in production, and it'll just keep on going into, obviously a new company. So he was there along with his business partner, and they did not have any cigars to sample or to exhibit because they're still being banded, packaged, and boxed and everything like that, so that they can get their release out later this year. He did, however, actually have 2 of the boxes on display, which I thought was interesting, and you can see that kind of on the Smokin Tabacco channels. It's up online, but it was really nice. He had that same like cardboard outer box, the velvet sleeve box trio that you would see maybe on Atabey Byron, Cohiba Bahike, some of the stuff like that. So really like high-end, luxurious packaging. Inside the box, really nice. He had the separator on the bottom that was perforated, if you will, with the rectangular holes in it, and beneath was the humidity pack. So that way you can allow your cigars to stay humidified inside the box that the cigars come in. And I was also told that it does come with a pack in it from the factory. So when the box is shipped with the cigars in it, they'll have a humidity pack inside all the way through shipping and as they sit on the shelf and whatnot in cigar shops. So you could tell a lot of thought, a lot of creative influence went into the packaging of that, and it definitely screams high-end, ultra-premium cigar.
Yeah, the navy and the gold look beautiful too.
Very, very beautiful. Matte finish
Sleek.
box, navy gold. Very beautiful. My estimate, speaking with a couple other people, and basically what I saw and the little bit that I got from Michael Herklotz, I'm going to guess that the Ferio Tego cigars themselves are going to be somewhere around the $20 per cigar price point. I could tell really nice quality, really high end. I think that's really the image that they're going for here.
Just from the box. And by the way, if anybody's interested, you can jump on YouTube at Smokin Tabacco and check out all the covers that Matthew and Nicole had. And by the way, Nicole, fantastic job with the video work. It was
Thank you.
excellent. And the
Thank you very
graphic
much.
stuff. Yeah, it really stood out. Now, I think Facebook too also has my algorithm set up since a part of the show that I see more of the stuff. But it did come across my feed real nicely when you all posted it up, so it really stood out. But yeah, you can jump on YouTube and check out all that stuff. But when I saw the packaging, I thought the same thing too. With the Ferio Tego, I was like, that's going to be $15 to $20, just based off of what the package looked like.
Right.
And one of the schools of thought, and kind of, I don't know if this is a standard, but it seems to kind of be this way, is I judge essentially the price of the cigar initially based off of how much the package costs to produce. So he's probably $15 to $20 for that package on there. So it's probably $15 to $20 for a cigar. I said that's not really industry standard by any means, but it seems to be that way more often than not. A lot of the things that we've done, it just seems to naturally pop up, like the cost of the package is what the cost of the cigar is at the end of the day. So it's kind of interesting to watch that. I watched the video you had with Michael, and I thought he did a great job displaying there and whatnot. It's got to be freaking tough, and had to be brutal for him not to be able to have cigars. I know that he did have some of the brands there. You and I had talked about that, but I know it's super tough not having cigars. But I will say, a few years back, I think, when Steve Saka started launching his brand with Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, he didn't have any cigars either. And he was doing kind of the same thing, and it worked out pretty well for Saka. So I think Michael will be fine. I think it was great for him to be there and not change his plans because of the availability of the product. I think it was very important for that brand to be there, and yeah, it was definitely the most highlighted and the most reputation behind one of the new brands that was there for sure.
Yeah, that was a really good booth, and it was really good to see Michael and catch up and kind of hear a little bit more about what he expects for. Closer now that we're closer, I would say, to availability. So hats off to him, doing a great job. The other new booth, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to say new booth, but the most anticipated cigar itself, I feel like, was Saka's Stillwell.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Saka introduced a new cigar called the Stillwell Star, and that cigar is going to be, it's 4 different cigars within the line. And by that, I mean they all use the same, they're all 6x52. They all use the same Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Mexican San Andreas binder, but the 4 different fillers are all going to be pipe tobaccos, which I know he's working with Jeremy Reeves from Cornell and Deal on this cigar. So it's very interesting. It's different.
Yep.
I'm curious to see. We have some samples of it. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm
That
curious.
was the one with the most hype.
Yeah, that would say that was the one with the most hype. And and anything Saka, I mean, the thing with him is he's good at marketing. He knows how to. He's got a cult following. He's good at marketing. He's very accessible on social media. He's on social media. He could really build the hype. He can, if anyone can sell it, it's him. How the public actually perceives it is a different story. And that's, I think, what we're really excited to see as time goes on and it's out there and it's available. But, I mean, I've spoke to some retailers who said, they bought it, they ordered it, they're going to carry it. But they still kind of question how much of a home run it's really going to be, which I think is normal, especially in any new release, but a new release that's very different than any other regular cigar that's on the market. But, again, it kind of goes back to the whole, it's Saka, it's Dunbarton. If anyone can do it, it's him.
Yeah, he's going to do good. It's going to do well. And by the way, the one thing that I find incredibly nice about Saka's presentation of the products is they're very clean looking. Like the bands are clean. There's not a lot of extra space. They're not massive bands. It looks
Right.
really nice on the cigar. So the cigar really presented itself well, and there's no doubt that probably the blend's going to be something that the consumers are going to enjoy. He tends to really blend towards what the consumers want. He's really in touch with them and very accessible. So I think that's probably going to be a huge success.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that and to try the cigar as well. Like I said, we have some of them, and we just haven't gotten to them yet, but really excited to try that and check that out. Another booth that made its first showing at the trade show, but is a brand that is not new. It's new to the United States, but it is the El Septimo booth. Now, El Septimo is a brand that's an ultra-premium cigar brand that's been around for, I want to say it was about 20 years now. Europe, Asia, I know that's parts of Africa.
Yep.
So all other parts of the world, they're in Russia, but they're making their debut in the United States. I think they came out last year in terms of being in cigar shops, but obviously this is their first PCA trade show, first time exhibiting. So a lot of us didn't really get to interact with them. We sat down and we talked with Zaya, the CEO of El Septimo, and you can see that interview on Smokin Tabacco youtube.com/Smokin Tabacco. Interesting stuff. They got some really high end, really expensive cigars. I mean, their range is anywhere from, I want to say, 16 to 20 to they have $100 cigars. So it's one of those brands that it's new, it's flashy. It'll be interesting to see how that competes with brands like Davidoff, Atabey Byron, those really high end, expensive cigars that are on the market now. So I know I can't remember if all of them were, but I know the majority of them, they're all made in Costa Rica. So it's another, one of those
They're
brands.
all made in Costa Rica, but they have a blended tobacco.
That's
They're
yeah,
bringing
that
it
yeah,
in.
that's
Some
correct.
of them are Costa Rican puros.
Some of them are puros from Costa
some of
Rica.
them
Some
are
of them
not.
are not, but they're all made in Costa Rica. They were introducing, they were showcasing their cigars in some of what they're calling their old packaging. They had some clear colored acrylic boxes for the different lines, and they said they were trying to get away from that and go back into the traditional cedar box with like the nice lacquer finish, because the customers didn't really like the way the plastic boxes kept up the cigar quality within humidors and on shelves. So they're transitioning away from that. They are also introducing a new line that was at the show. It's 7 different cigars that are all based off of painters and artists, like the old, Italian painters and whatnot, like Michelangelo and stuff like that. And they even have a 7 cigar calendar. I'm sorry, not calendar, sampler. The calendars is another thing we have to get into.
Yep.
But they have a 7 cigar sampler from that collection with one of each of the ones in that line. And I can't remember the price point on that one, but it was really nice. Very colorful looking display, really nice booth. They were also exhibiting some luxury items. Zaya told us that they had some really high end like women's purses and bags on display at the booth that retails somewhere between like $3,000 and $4,000, and Zaya had said that the mentality behind that was, he thought of his wife and smoking cigars, and he was like, if my wife had a $4,000 El Septimo handbag, she would be okay if I was smoking El Septimo cigars. So that's kind of how he kind of got that marketing play into it.
Personally, I don't think that works because I wouldn't want a $4,000 El Septimo handbag. I would want a Louis Vuitton bag for that price.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
Just
they,
saying.
Well-
they obviously didn't. They obviously didn't convince you at the booth that that's the
They-
that's
And
the
not-
handbag.
And
Yeah,
not,
they
and,
didn't.
and not for nothing, not to gloat or anything, but just only because of the sake of this argument, you actually did just get a Louis Vuitton bag, and it was like half of that. So
yeah.
I mean,
It was cheaper than 4,000.
yeah. So I mean, you could still get a Louis Vuitton bag for less than that, and But hey, if people are buying it, and he's making money on it, good for him.
Yep.
That's part of doing business. So I mean, maybe not
Hey,
for you. I don't
hey,
care. I
take-
don't carry a handbag, but
Take it from me. I'm telling you, the high end accessories in the premium cigar business are challenging. I sell a $20,000 cutter.
oh yeah.
It takes time to move those things. Now, if you have an outside influence where you can go to a different market and sell that, it's a little bit different. But if you're going to be trying to sell $4,000 and $5,000 handbags or more, or 10, 15, 20, $30,000 accessories. It's a very limited market that you're going to be selling to. Even more than, even a person that buys $100 cigars might not be in the market for a $20,000 cutter,
No.
or a $10,000 handbag. So it's really challenging. A lot of people have done a lot of luxury stuff, in the market. You look at like ST DuPont, they're not just lighters and cutters, they're pens, baggage. They've got a really diverse portfolio and a really expanded, they sell them other places other than just cigar shops. So, I'm sure El Septimo probably does that as well, and that might be a side thing. Maybe the cigars are side. Maybe the luxury products are actually their primary stuff.
Well, they're actually in a couple different industries. So they have they do wine.
They do wine
Yep.
as well. So they're kind of all over the
Yeah.
place, but hopefully it works out for them. They seem to be doing good in other parts of the world, rather. Sorry. So it'll be interesting to see how they take on the United States market and the things that they're doing. And it's funny that we're on the topic of luxury goods and accessories. Another interesting thing that happened is ST DuPont was exhibiting out of a different booth this year. They were at the Coles of London booth, who is their new distributor. And so we got to see some of the stuff from them. Nothing really new. They have their new Odyssey collection, which is based on space and all that. There's a cutter, a lighter, a pen. Can't remember what else, but you know how they do it with their limited edition collections. They have the lighter that's part of the shuttlecraft lander, whatever it's called there. It's a whole display, real beautiful stuff, high end, but nothing else that's really new from ST DuPont. But again, it's one of those things. It's those luxury goods. They're all over the map. I mean, who doesn't love the way those lighters ping when you flip them open? I mean, come on.
Ping.
Bing.
Yeah, I got a couple of accessories. Guys, speaking of accessories, I just found last night, so I'm slowly transitioning away from my Miami abode, and I'll be locating to the Orlando lady friend estate.
She
But
can't
I
be called your
found-
lady
She can't.
friend
Hold on.
anymore.
Before you, I want you to continue, but
Yeah.
she can't be the.
Absolutely she
No, she's
No.
she's gonna be Mrs. Carney
Oh,
soon.
but
Yeah.
she's
So
not my lady friend anymore?
no, she's gonna be
No.
Mrs. Carney.
All right. So, speaking of the ping,
All
I got
right.
one right here. I got this one. I don't even know what this is called, but I got it. But I found my LE Blue. I lost this LE Blue lighter that I got from the trade show 3 years ago, and I just found it when I was going through some of my things. I thought it was gone, so I was always a big fan of the LE Blue lighters. So I found one. So that was a big find. But I think the biggest accessory at the show this year, certainly on your end, was the Opus X 25th anniversary accessories. Good grief.
Oh my God.
Wow,
They
yeah.
were beautiful.
Very, very beautiful. Really high end.
You could tell those were really nice because even the shitty pictures that I saw people take of them looked friggin' great.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
was like, man, that looks great. Like I'm like, wow, and you could tell it wasn't the best picture. It was like a camera phone. I mean, it even looked great on camera, like really bad pictures.
They even had like slots in the side for the Boveda pack, so like you couldn't see them. They were concealed. I feel like
So,
that's the trend moving forward.
When you open the box, has the tray, but in the back and the bottom along the back wall are the wooden slots like Boveda makes to slide the pouches in, so they're out of the way. The box comes with all that installed with pouches in it. And actually, I believe he said it comes with. If I could be wrong here, but I thought I heard him say it comes with the 84% packs
Yeah, to season. Yeah.
it, as well as like I think it comes with like 69s or 72s for use after. So I mean, when you get the humidor, I mean that thing is ready for you to install. You don't have to buy anything, use anything. Granted, they're very high in price, but out of the box, ready to roll to get you going to put your cigars in there. Really cool stuff. They're 3-finger cigar holders with the sleeve. Those are made entirely out of carbon fiber. So not only are really strong, but they're extremely lightweight. And the finish on them is just magnificent. They come in a variety of different colors and designs. So that was another eye-catching
They have the
booth.
beautiful Glencairns. They
Oh
have some
yeah, they
other-
did. They had the
Yep.
glassware. They had humidors, cutters, lighters from LE Blue.
Yep.
The cigar holders. Just a really, really beautiful collection. I think I think it's one of those collections that's going to keep on growing, and there'll be new items added, new designs, and all that. But for now, even what they're starting with is impressive.
Yeah.
But it is pricey.
So I talked to a lot of people when they were at the show.
Yeah.
There was a lot of retailers there, that I've got good relationships with, and I was talking to people during the show. We were doing some business over the phone, and the one booth that I heard everybody talk about, and that kept catching my eye online, was the J.C. Newman booth.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking cool. I would have loved to see that in person.
2,000 pieces of cardboard. So the J.C. Newman booth, it was supposed to be a mirror image, right, of their actual factory in Ybor City. And so it had 2,000 pieces of cardboard. It was beautiful. And they even did a display on the inside, which is reminiscent of their their museum inside. So they had brought like full-on displays from the museum,
which we were just at when we were down in Florida with you, John, and so we had just been there for the new renovated factory, and to come to the show and see it replicated on a smaller scale was like, oh my god, wow! It actually, like, having been there, I'm like, wow, this actually looks pretty damn good.
I believe they did win the best booth, so they do have awards, and
yeah, they did get an award for that.
Booth award, but it was a sight to see, for sure.
Absolutely. I thought John was going to chime in there.
I know, right?
I waited.
No.
I waited for him to chime in. He brought it up, and then he just sat there like,
nope. Well, we could talk about the worst booth.
Well, we can get into that because I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's just disrespectful. Just don't go. Second, on the J.C. Newman one, I thought it was really cool too how they had umbrella tables out around it and things like that too.
That was the Fuente booth.
Yep.
Yeah, and it looked really cool. It was like a great little lounge spot, and those two things. That at the Fuente booth, I know they had that nice centerpiece too, which was nice. It looked really, it was beautiful. I liked the little sit down area, and I definitely, like I said, the J.C. Newman one. If J.C. Newman would take like some sit down areas like that, like Fuente did with the umbrellas outside, that'd be really cool. So there's definitely some really cool ideas that were there, and there's some things that I definitely looked at. If we were to make some changes and some adjustments or whatnot, or if I were, if somebody asked my opinion, what they would do with the booth, I thought making it like, I've always said this with the PCA show, when we do events in cigar shops, we want it to be an experience, right? It's got to be enjoyable. It's got to be fun. Why don't we make the show the same exact way? So like when you walk into the booth, it's like being at an event. And when you went to when you went to that J.C. Newman booth, it was like showing up for a theme park. It was like a cigar theme park, and then when you went to the Fuente booth, some of these other booths, it was like sitting out in the lounge area. It was really, for me, it looked like those were two different situations that really understood, like, hey, we're going to change this a little bit, but then really, paid off at the same time and really had a good experience.
So I got to comment on something because it seems to be there's a topic going on in the comment section that really has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, and I feel like I just need to address it for whatever reason, because that's what everyone keeps talking about it. Yes, I currently am in the possession of a 2018 Shelby GT350 that, yes, I did take to Shelby American down the street as I always visit when I'm in town. So yeah, I do have it with me. I will have it until Saturday. It is cool and it is fast. We are loving it. And I cannot tell you how we acquired it. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, we can continue the show now.
And then, getting into the discussion on the worst booth thing, obviously the conversation was the Caldwell thing. It's just ridiculous. Why even go? If you're going to go and try to make were they going and trying to make a statement? Maybe, but if you're going to go and you're going to disrespect it, if you're going to be there, you might as well do it. If you don't, just don't go.
Well, there's a couple different things here with this topic because, number one, there's their incident, which is an isolated incident in itself, but then there's the incident that's kind of related in the fact that there was a few other people who packed up and left early. They were one of them. There was a few others, and I feel like one of the changes that the PCA show needs to make is if you're coming out here, you're paying to exhibit, it should be you are there for the whole show. You're there when we begin, and you break down when we're done. None of this leaving early stuff. I don't care if the last day is a little quiet. So what? There's other people, maybe there's some smaller retailers or whoever that maybe they first time retailers. They did a lot of buying. They couldn't get to everyone right away, and then there's media people like us who didn't get to interview
Yep.
certain people because they packed up early. I know Coop had the same problem, and he had a team of 4 with him, and they did a hell of a job. So I want to hats off to the Cigar Coop team too,
Yep.
but as well as the How About That Cigar guys, Garrett and Matt, they all did a great job. But it was challenging because, we're at the trade show. We don't want to interrupt business. We don't want to get in the way. The retailers who are buying come first, which is a whole nother topic we need to get into as well. But that being said, we might need the whole time of the show. You got to stay for the whole show. And then in the case of Caldwell, a social media post went up. I want to say it was Sunday night or so, with a note being like, worst booth award, and thank you to the 75 retailers who came. I thought I heard through the grapevine, through some of the people at PCA, there was 1,500 retailers who came. So
they said thank you to the 73 retailers that came, and they went to go get tacos and whatever, and they closed the booth. But I'll be honest.
And they left all their cigar boxes and trash behind.
Yeah, but hold up. It seems like they've always kind of had an attitude or a chip on their shoulder of if they know better than everybody else. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like when you do that kind of stuff, makes it seem like that's what you are and that's what you think. So if you didn't, part of the people that were at that booth are people that I'm friends with, and they're professionals in the cigar business, and they know what the cigar industry is about, and they would have an understanding and a professionalism there to make that decision. So I don't necessarily think it was all of them, but there's always been this little attitude around that name and around what they're doing. And it's always been, I don't know him personally, but it's always kind of been, in my opinion, looking at it, we've never interacted, the two of us, ever. It's always kind of seemed like he just thinks he's a little bit better than everybody else.
The booth itself was not very involved compared to some of the other booths that were there. There were smaller companies who really took the time to build up their booth and things. So, I don't know if that's indicative of how many people came to their booth. I mean, it was pretty. There wasn't a lot to it compared to some of the other ones.
If you're gonna show up for the game, you got to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it was from the beginning.
If you're going to show up to the game and don't play, you might as well just not have shown up. And you know what? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they just lost the drive to want to play, and they said, you know what, hey, we'll forfeit and just call it good. And then they created a little bit of commotion on the way out that got some attention, which by the way, attention, it's unneeded attention. I again, not to use a term, but I think honestly the attention they got for it's really just irrelevant.
Yeah, one of the things that we saw with them is, we approached the booth on several different occasions, and they just seemed very uninterested. So, and that's difficult, but they just had that vibe the whole time. Like they were all like there was several different times.
It was from day one.
Like from day one,
Yeah.
when there was no one in the booth, and they were all just kind of sitting around, and we'd approach, and we would stand there glancing at what the little they had. And they wouldn't even look at us. They were just kind of like, whatever. I just don't care.
I've always kind of got that vibe for the last several years. And I said it. That's kind of how I always felt of it. It's like, there's a point where it's like, well, you can buy the cigars or not. But at the end of the day, I said, if you're going to show up to the game, play. If you don't want to play, then don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, perfect example, someone like yourself who, maybe it wasn't a smart business move to pay to go out and do the show because, like you said, you want to get caught up on some stuff. But, even if you had went and said, we're not taking on any new customers or we're not really doing a lot of orders, but we're here to represent, you would still work that show the best of your ability, even though you weren't really doing a lot of business. They were there with the potential to do all the business in the world, and they just didn't seem to want it. So, there really is no excuse to show up at a show and not do anything. I mean, look at Michael Harklot. Michael Harklot had nothing to sell, but he
didn't even have cigars.
But he was there. But he was there.
He didn't trash his booth at the end of the time. I'll be honest, guys. I really don't want to talk about Caldwell anymore. I think they're disrespectful. I think that whole move was too much, and there's a lot of positive stuff. We can get into some more negative things in a bit, but I think there's pauses from that. But I mean, if they didn't want to be there, so why are we giving them the time?
Absolutely. Well, I think I want to hit the news segment really quick to kind of give us a little break from the trade show talk, which, I mean, it's a little related to the trade show because it debuted at the show. But our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. McAuliffe Cigars little burp there. That's lunch. That's the lunch
Yeah.
coming back up. McAuliffe Cigars. Become an ambassador today at McAuliffeCigars.com. It's a great club to be in. Get your coin and be all about the McAuliffe Ambassador Program. Alec Bradley had announced earlier I think it was last week that came out, like on Friday, right as the trade show began, that they were doing a new factory for their Gatekeeper cigar. And they're moving it from EP Carrillo. I'm sorry, the page just... I had my notes in front of me, and see, this is what happens. Sorry, they're moving it from EP Carrillo to Tabacos de Oriente in Danlí, Honduras. We talked to Bradley Rubin a little bit about this in our interview, I believe. They made the decision, EP Carrillo, they got two number one, cigars of the year that they're trying to produce right now. They got the pledge last year, so they're trying to produce all those that they can. There's a high demand there, as you know. I mean, you guys got cigar of the year with 2016 with Andalusian Bull, and that was a cigar that went from being somewhat available to now, if you find Andalusian Bull, and this isn't like a jab or anything. This is just the nature of the game. Cigar gets cigar of the year, everybody wants it, and now it's flying off the shelf.
Did you show John his present?
Oh no, we can get into that later off the air. But so it's natural. They get two cigars of the year, and they got a lot of production, and then everything else with production delays that everyone else is experiencing. So I think they had to make a tough call there. But we actually were able to smoke the new Gatekeeper from Alec Bradley.
Yep.
From the new factory, and I gotta say it was really good. A lot of smoke production, really flavorful, burned right, really, really good cigar. So I think they're gonna have some good success with that. That's my first-hand experience.
I think Alan Rubin's a great guy, and Alec and Bradley are both really good, really good representations of that family brand, not just by name, by how they represent themselves. I'm sure it was a challenging decision to switch that over, but I mean, everybody's trying to play catch up. So a company like them who's got contracted brands with multiple manufacturers. I mean, look at Herklotz knew the show was coming up. He probably tried everything he could do to get cigars there, and still hard. So you imagine how much these contract brands, and even though they're heavily involved in the process, getting them actually produced on a consistent basis where you can elevate them to scale is really hard. So I'm sure it was a tough decision for them, but they have to be able to move the cigars, and they have to get their brands out there. So it's, they make some adjustments, but they work hand in hand, and they financially don't cut any corners. So I'm sure it'll be a great blend, and it'll be really essentially a new introduction of a new cigar for the most part.
Yeah, I think that they're on the right track. I think they're going to do some good things. After talking with them, they get some other stuff going on that I think is going to be good. But hey, I mean, there's a lot of good things that came out of the trade show. I mean, there was a few other people who changed factories or changed blends on some stuff, and I would say that the theme of the trade show as a whole was kind of like line extensions.
More so than anything else.
Yeah, some people making tweaks to their blend, or they're changing the factory. I know 724 Kurt Kendall, who we know just from being local. They changed their factory for some of their cigars too.
Amendola did.
Amendola had changed their factory. So there's some people who made some factory changes, some little slight blend changes, and then the rest of it was really just line extensions. We didn't see a hell of a lot of new product. Nova Cigar, they introduced their Leo 11 Nicaragua, as well as their 848 cigar. I'm sorry, their 484. 484 cigar. In addition to, like Saka came out with the Stillwell Star cigars. Padron had some show exclusives in their Family Reserve line in a Maduro and Natural. Arturo Fuente came out with some extensions in the Rare Pink collection. They're adding the Sophisticated Hooker, as well as the Queen of Hearts. Yeah, I know, right? We asked Leon. So I asked Leon. I was like, your dad's got these crazy names. Probably like, you gotta tell me, like, where did he come up with this? And she just chuckled, and she's like, it actually has to do with a boat. And she's like, he went down on a fishing trip, I believe the story was, and the name of the boat was like the
Sophisticated Hooker.
Yeah, the Sophisticated Hooker.
And there was hooks all over the boat.
Yeah.
Around the boat.
And so that's what he named it after, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
I smoked a cigar from Fuente once. It was from the factory. It was called Brain Hemorrhage.
Oh, really?
It was like our NAS. It was all Ligero wrapper, binder, filler, like a big long cheroot. And it was given to me in New Orleans by a really good friend of mine, Jim Smith. He had a brain. I gave him an NAS, and he gave me a brain hemorrhage. And both of us experienced some strong cigars. So I didn't have a brain hemorrhage, thank God, but it was very strong.
Oh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah, I mean they also Fuente also had an unnamed reserve that they were coming out with too, which I believe had a year on it of 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
like a vintage year. So that is also coming out to the market this year. No new news on the Padron Fuente collaboration cigar. I think that's something that's going to be delayed for a little while as, everyone kind of gets caught up with all their other projects in regular production. So no new news on that. J.C. Newman announced that they were coming out with their
Double Robusto
double
American.
Robusto American, which is a different blend, by the way, from what we learned at the trade show. So I mean, really cool stuff going on. But most of it's just line extensions, couple new things, couple of cool new things. But I would say, John, is you're more experienced with being at the trade show a lot more than I have. Trade shows is usually a lot more new releases, special releases, show exclusives, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Well, there were a ton of PCA exclusives this last year. I know Pete Johnson had a PCA exclusive. I know Christian Aroa did.
Yeah.
They also, CLE and Asylum all announced new cigars. So I think there were a lot of new things there. It's just a lot of those projects, I think, are a little bit later in the year. We're going to end up that way. So there's not a lot of hitting, I think, right now type of a thing. Where in the past, you've had this cigar's out, we're going to sell it, it's going to be out like in the next 3 weeks. So I think that the conversation of people getting caught up, having such a big year kind of overshadows a little bit of the newer releases, but there were there's still, shockingly to me, a lot of new products announced. Essentially that the Padron, that's essentially a new cigar. I mean, it's a line extension, but it's pretty much a new cigar. That's round too, so it's short, fat, and round. I'm really looking forward to trying that when that comes out. But yeah, I mean, I think naturally you're going to have a trend of people who are backed up trying to play catch up, talking about new products, but not necessarily having samples and supplies right there at the show. Is really a different focus on that, I'm sure.
I'm gonna grab something here while we continue the show, just so I can maybe showcase.
Oh my God.
Maybe I can showcase a couple of things. Well, I'm not gonna pull the whole thing up. I'm gonna look for a couple of certain items that are here as we talk. But yeah. So I mean that's kind of the take on what's new and whatnot at the show. I just heard the ping. Look at this, dude. Who doesn't want that? You know what I mean? Ping.
Ping.
I honestly, I think I'm gonna buy. I think I'm gonna get one while we're out here. I might just drink too much and go buy one at the Davidoff store. But anyway, so
I think that might be how I got this one.
You got drunk and bought it at the Davidoff store?
So,
Yeah, that's about to happen to me tonight. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, so what was I gonna? Oh, here's the. Actually, I have one right here. This is the
Alec Bradley.
The Alec Bradley Gatekeeper. I'm a little far away from the camera, so I have one of them right there. Great cigar. As Kevin said in the chat, Kevin Akoff, the Honduran is good, if not maybe a little better than the original. I would agree with that. That was a great cigar. I do have one of these. That I don't know how many. I don't know if anybody actually has one of these yet. So I got to be careful. But I may or may not have found an Asylum 9 at the trade show. And that's what I have here.
That is a 9x90.
This is a 9.
It doesn't look that crazy.
This is not the 9x9. This is the 7x70.
Sorry, the 7x70.
I don't have the 9x90, but it's still an Asylum 9, which I don't even believe is actually fully available yet. But I do have one.
And he's gonna smoke it.
I am gonna do it. I mean, I told who gave it to me that I would actually smoke it.
It's
and not
so
just,
big.
That's what she said.
Tom was a really good personal friend of mine, so I will actually buy one of the 9x90s and smoke that too.
This is
just for the sake of sporting it.
I'm gonna wait, hold on. I'm gonna walk up to the camera here, but this is
It doesn't look as ridiculous, to be honest with you.
It doesn't.
On the camera, it doesn't look that crazy.
Okay, but let's compare it to the.
That's a Toro in your other hand, right?
No,
that's a Robusto.
Yeah, it's a Robusto.
Oh.
Boom. It's.
Oh, this is interesting. So I have
It's
with
hardy.
me right here For those maybe who haven't even seen them yet, these two are from El Septimo. These are two of their cigars. I'm going to hold them up right here for you guys to see. El Septimo, another big thing about them is they do a lot of larger ring gauge cigars. That kind of seems to be their forte.
Yep.
A lot of thicker ring gauges.
With a closed foot.
Closed foot.
Yep.
Not only just a closed foot, not like a shaggy foot, but it's actually the closed foot is pigtailed. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's actually pigtailed on the foot too. So closed pigtailed foot, larger ring gauge cigar. So there's another big cigar actually that you can kind of showcase a little bit right there.
This one smells like chocolate.
Yeah. So I also have this right here. This is one that hits a little close to home for all three of us. This is the new 724 Hustler 5 and Dime cigar.
Oh, sweet.
Being made in the new factory, Jesus de Fuego's factory.
It's just Jesus Fuego.
Jesus Fuego. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of En Fuego that's here down the street.
Jesus de Fuego.
Yeah,
Jesus of fire.
I'm thinking of En Fuego Cigar Lounge down the street. I'm trying to see what else here that's a little new and exciting. We ran into Battleground Cigars, which is a fun, cool brand. They had a nice old school Civil War battle tent.
And they're from Hazardville, Connecticut, Enfield, Connecticut. Yep.
Yeah, and they have a Lincoln, which comes in this beautiful tube right here with Abraham Lincoln. This has got John Carney written all over it right here. Very patriotic. this as well as the Battleground Longstreet. There's another one right there. This little chunky Perfecto cigar that they have here that we got from them. So yeah, there's some cool stuff. There's another one here. There's a Mexican Puro that actually was debuted at the show as well. I believe this was their first year. It was Casa 1910, and they had a nice, beautiful orange display. A little hard to see. These are the Robustos right here, but this is a Mexican Puro cigar that debuted at the show. I haven't tried it yet. I heard some mixed reviews, but
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool information. I can't disclose what I just read, but interesting. We also have. I'm trying to see. All the cigars are in a mess on the floor now.
Yeah, Matt just dumped his bag everywhere.
We had a huge bag. I'm trying to. All right, I got two of the three. Where's the red one now?
Oh, the cannoli.
Yeah. Oh, here they are. All right, so I have all three of the.
You did get the cannoli.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we got all three.
Nice.
The red, white, and green cannolis from Amendola.
Yep.
These are awesome. These are cool.
They are really good.
Yeah. So there's another one there for you.
Buffalo 10, that was another.
Yeah, the Buffalo 10 we got. We experienced K by Karen Berger, who was at the show herself. That was a great time. We have the new the Serie E from Crown Heads with that Frankenstein pattern from the Eddie Van Halen. You might recognize that. We saw the star of Hacking Gourmet, Brian McGee. I bumped in the other major star, Fred Rui, formerly of Nomad Cigars, was there as well. So it was a real nice Hacking Gourmet reunion.
So I haven't been able to see the Crown Heads interview with Brian. It won't let me watch it. I don't know if you guys. It says it's still processing.
Oh, we'll have to check it. Our Wi-Fi is terrible, so we could only get so much up. That might be why.
Well, I didn't realize that, so I apologize to anyone who's tried to watch that interview.
Yeah, we still have. I want to say maybe 6 or 7 interviews to get up, but most of them are up by now.
Yeah, now there's just a big pile of cigars on the floor. This is not good.
So I'm about halfway through this cigar right now. I'm right up where the Regency cigar logo is.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's blowing me away. I freaking love it.
Yeah?
Super white ash. It's delicious. The Oro Blend's one of my favorites. And this one just looks so freaking cool.
So, John, I do have to ask your opinion on something.
Okay.
And
give it to him, baby.
My question for you is, do you feel relevant?
You got to be careful with this topic. We're gonna be
I know,
really
but we do have
topic.
to discuss it.
We do.
We do have to discuss it.
So I'm a person personally that doesn't get too worked up by what people's comments are, and when you're public and you do something, in your public forum, you open yourself up from comments from peers, from consumers, anyone, and you got to be able to handle that. And so I don't take negative things negatively. I don't take comments from people negatively. I take them for what they are. I don't take comments from the peanut gallery.
Hey, can I
That
interrupt?
stuff.
Can I interrupt for a second?
No,
Just
no,
for,
you
just
can't.
so you know, I
Yeah.
bust his balls all the time. He never takes it personally. So I mean,
Yeah. So I don't take it too personally by any means, but I will, so obviously what we're talking about, there was a picture taken with a large group of manufacturers, mostly brand owners, to be
Yep.
honest. There weren't a lot of actual
We
true
watched it
manufacturers.
happening in real time. We happened to be
And
on the floor, and
um,
someone had gathered everyone together to take a photo.
so
And
anyway, they took a
that's
photo and it said, if you're not here, you're not relevant. I will say one thing at first, just before we get into the optics of it. The comment overall was totally irrelevant to me. It had no effect on me. I don't think it had any effect on most people, other than I woke up in the morning and I saw it and it just raised my eyebrows. I was like, oh, interesting. But to me, the comment was irrelevant. It was them in the moment taking a picture, catching a cool catchphrase, very proud of themselves that they were there supporting the PCA show, which they should be. They should be proud of that. That's the thing to be proud of. You should also be proud of the PCA or proud of what you're doing, even if you weren't there. There's no different class of brands or citizen because there's attendance there. So honestly, I found the comment irrelevant. I found it kind of funny. Yeah, it was an accidental jab at people that they didn't intend on, which was obviously shown by the way that it progressed and changed throughout the day. And I went back and forth if I was going to comment on it. The only comment I made one comment on a post that I believe is Skip Martin, who got really heavily involved in the discussion, which seems par for the course. He's very accessible to that kind of stuff. Obviously, their company wasn't there either. But I did comment on there. That's a really a bad way for future. Sorry, it's going to be challenging for future recruitment, something like that.
mm-hmm.
If you weren't there and the people, they want to try to bring you together, you need everybody involved. And reality is, Davidoff, Drew Estate, General Altadis, those companies make up probably 35 to 40% of the industry. And if they're not there and they don't feel comfortable being there, or they don't feel like the partners, the manufacturing and brand partners and participants show don't want them there, then why would they? Because they're such a big part of the business. But we need those people there. We need LFD to be back at the show. We need Roma Craft, anyone who didn't come.
Everyone.
We need anyone who's anyone to be able to be at the show. So I thought the comment missed the mark. But again, to me, the comment was just what they said. It was irrelevant. It was as irrelevant to me as anything else. So that's just my actual opinion on it. Now I can take some optics from there. It seems like, on a personal side, if you're just watching it, again, it doesn't matter to me. So I'm going to start before I say any of this. I'm not calling anyone out. And again, I'm not offended by any of it. Pete Johnson personally reached out to me, and essentially apologized and said, no, that wasn't our intention, this and that. I have the utmost respect for the LFD company, Lido and Inez and all that. And I really appreciate the friendship with him. And to me, it was no, harm, no foul. I said it was irrelevant. And then I had some other funny things, some optical stuff that looked there. But it seems like there's a group of people that try to do things in our industry to get people riled up and get them participating. And one thing I will say is I didn't have, besides talking on these shows, I had very little, I had maybe one person from the PCA association, whether they're on the board or whatnot, actually reach out and ask why we didn't attend. So instead of putting a post up and saying, if you're not here, you're irrelevant, I wish that energy and time would have been spent to saying, hey, if you weren't here, how can we reach out to you and talk to you about having you be here?
Well,
I think that would have been the best thing to do, is instead of telling people that they're irrelevant, we'll do that. And the one thing I will say, it seems like there's a group, and it's always the same things. Like there was a comment that was made about a year and a half ago, right after Pro Cigar Festival, and it was calling out people that were standing on a stage, and it was, there was one brand owner that went and said something, and a bunch of people commented, and it was similar people that were in the picture. So it seems to be that there's people that are doing things to try to get people riled up. I don't think they mean malice with what they posted there, but is it worth the time and effort to do all of those things when we could just be professional about it, and discuss the differences, behind closed doors rather than out in the open with a Facebook post? But That was one thing that was really interesting to me. It seems like there's a, it's like, I wouldn't say serial commenters, but it seems to be there's a little group that gets everybody riled up, and then they all get involved in a bunch of bullshit that doesn't need to be talked about.
Well, it was a manufacturer who started this. It was not anyone from the PCA who tried to get people together for the photo.
And we won't say who
Yeah.
that person was.
But it was a manufacturer and not a message coming from the PCA who started it. Because we literally watched it unravel. We were standing there as they were gathering everyone together and whatnot. So, yeah, it did not come from them. It did not.
Yeah, but it's, to me, I look at it, and a lot of people co-signed and endorsed it. They thought it was funny and a fun thing and a rallying call until it started to really, unravel in front of people.
It was poor
which it did.
wording.
Yeah, it was. It was
It was poor wording.
It really missed the mark. But again, I have nothing but the utmost respect for everybody that was in that picture. I have nothing but the utmost respect for my friends that happened to share it and post those things. Again, to me, it was totally irrelevant. I can discuss optics all day on it, 100%, and we can, for the sake of the show.
And some people didn't
It
know
totally
that was the verbiage that was going along with it. There were people who were just getting together thinking it was for a photo, like a group photo of manufacturers.
I would say that's a fair
True.
statement
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
True. I will say that there was obviously unknowing, but when you see a group of people that are getting ordered around and there's a rallying call, and person that maybe rallied them together or built it up has been known to be divisive in certain things like that, you got to be a little bit more careful, I think, and
Yep.
at the same time, jump out with it. It wasn't a coincidence to me. There were certain people that were missing from the photo. I don't know if that was on accident or was on purpose, but like I said, the whole thing was irrelevant. I have nothing but respect for everybody in there. I'm not going to stop supporting Pete Johnson. I'm not going to stop supporting anybody that's in there because of that, and I don't think anybody should or anybody's going to. I just thought there was a lot of good, positive momentum coming from the show, and to see that after 4 days that the culmination of that was the people that weren't there and weren't relevant was the wrong mark to hit, because that wasn't what their message was trying to get across, and that's not what I think they wanted to get across from the show, because I thought there was a lot of positive things. I know we talked about this kind of off the record, but were the changes that were there that were positive a result of decisions that were made by the PCA and the board, or was it positive because decisions were made by the participants and the manufacturers where we're going to make smaller booths, we're going to do this? Like nobody went to Nick Perdomo and said, hey Nick, we need you to put up a smaller booth this year. He decided to do that. Nobody went to Fuente and said, hey, we're going to do a more open concept. They did that. Nobody went to Pete and said, hey, we need you to not bring your big booth this year. We're going to do this. So I think a lot of the things that brought it down to earth, I don't know if those were decisions that were made by the PCA and the board. If they were, hopefully that continues on. But if they weren't, I think a lot of people saw a lot of positive things from that. As I said, I saw a lot of unique things from different booths, and it just looked like a more open environment and a more conducive environment to people being together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the show, I think overall, despite some of the things that did happen, I think it was a successful show, considering also, Scott Pierce and his team, they deserve a lot of credit. They put this show together in 100 days. When the clock turned to 2021, at the new year, I think people still weren't even sure if we were even going to be here. But we did it. It was a success. The show happened, and I think that they did it the best that they could have with the time that they had to put it together and what they had to put together with. So I think that's important. And, like you said, the other stuff's kind of irrelevant, and it doesn't really deserve any much more airtime. We discussed it, and it's kind of out there. But, I would say the only other thing that I would like to bring up in the conversation that I felt was a problem at the trade show was they need to seriously comb through who gets on the trade show floor. I spoke with a lot of manufacturers and a few retailers who specifically told me that this was an issue for them, and even gave me specific names of people who had interrupted business, caused them to lose orders, disrupted the booth, left the booth a mess, treated the booth like their own personal lounge, and people, it deterred people from coming over and interacting with them because they felt maybe the booth was too busy or full because people were unnecessarily hanging out in the booth who really didn't have any business being there to begin with. And a lot of it comes from the controversial, I would say, nameplate of it, of the influencers, which those people, and I had expressed that frustration, on behalf of a lot of people at that trade show floor online, and some of those people took some offense to that, but at the same time, people usually get very defensive when they know they're wrong. That's my takeaway from it. I know, speaking with Scott Pierce, there's some specific people that came up in conversation, and he said, yeah, that we had denied their credentials because we didn't feel that they were as strong enough on the media front that they needed to be here, and yet they found ways to get in anyway. It's something that's going to be looked into and revised. And I think it's a huge problem. I know, like I said, there was some manufacturers that were extremely frustrated because they lost some orders because of that. So, John, I don't know what your take is on that. I know you weren't here. I don't know if that's been much of an issue in years past when you've exhibited with La Flor Dominicana, but that's kind of been the talk of the town on that subject around the trade show this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's always the point of discussion where who's on the show floor, whether it's consumers, is that I think really this year, since we had all of last year off and the saturation of the premium cigar industry in social media, it was always big, but it became, it's for us event-wise, the social media side of it's how we get a lot of our events out there. And how a lot of discussions happened the last year. So there's obviously a huge influx of influencers, people who take selfies and pictures. But I've never let that interfere with what I'm doing for business. If somebody comes by and I'm busy doing something, I tell them that we're busy. Hey, I'm in a meeting or this and that. I'm not available today. You can stop by at this time. If you're really interested in doing it. I have people that come up if they want samples. I'm just not giving them out. And if I don't have them available, or I'm in a meeting. So I think a little bit of that's managing it. And unfortunately, if people don't like that, the cigar influencer thing seems to be here to stay. It has an impact. You've got cigar influencers, not necessarily just cigar influencers, but people that want to be influencers on social media that are part of cigar shows, and a lot of them do have an impact. But there is a fine line with what's in the business and what's actually not when it comes to an actual trade show. This isn't an expo. An expo you would have a lot less business being done and just more displaying of products and more photo opportunities. But in our industry, that's kind of it's kind of a muddy water of a mix of a little bit of both. Of it seems to people that like this is an expo, but really at the end of the day, it's a business trade show for manufacturing business partners to do business with their business partners. So I think it's here to stay, and it's going to be tough to keep people out. And as long as these influencers have relationships with manufacturing and brand partners, if they have the badges, you can bring the people in. So it's going to be up to the individual booths to kind of manage how they want to manage it, because I think it is going to be kind of here to stay. You may have them discuss it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to control what these people do with their badges that they purchase.
Well, they're thinking of financial implications, for sure.
Yeah, that was talked about too. There'd
Yeah.
be financial penalties for, I would say, I think both the people who are at the show floor who they feel don't deserve to be there, as well as whoever might have helped to bring them in.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. They're gonna have a really hard time with that, because if I buy badges, it's up to me to determine who I want to be there.
True.
Whether I agree with it or not, we don't throw around badges. So that's not something we do. If I bring 20 people, I have 15 of them are my staff, and then 4 or 5 of them are family members.
But as long as they're at your booth, an
Yeah,
easy way
yeah.
to separate it is the people who are under someone else's badge and they're constantly walking around all
Yeah,
day.
I would say if you're there under a manufacturer, you should be in the booth. I mean, you shouldn't be wandering around the entire trade show if you're there as a manufacturer.
I agree, but when the manufacturer, the brand person, the person who's participating in there buys the badge, it's going to be really hard to tell them what they can and can't do with the badges if they pay to have them. So if it's a situation of where they're asking, hey, I need 10 extra badges and I don't want to pay for them, and they give them the 10 extra badges and it goes to people that aren't helping, that's a different story. But if it's badges they're purchasing to have people there, then,
Oh yeah, no, and but that's the difference, is that there were people walking around the show on other people's badges that didn't step foot in those booths that were on their badges. They were just walking around.
So yeah, I just think it's going to be really hard to fully police that, because it's like if I buy a ticket to a concert, but then I send you to the concert. Now I know you'd want to go to it, but I bought the ticket, so.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it pans out. I think there's it's a big topic of discussion
It's
right
a
now,
loophole.
but we'll have to see how it pans out. Right now, I can see on our end that John's video feed is frozen, although we can hear him fine. I'm not sure how he's coming through to the audience, whether if it's also just his audio. Oh, now he's back. Now he's back. I can see him now, which is good. I see him getting ready to light another cigar. He's a biter.
Same stick.
Oh, same stick? Oh, okay.
But no, I think that's a great topic, a great point. It's just, it's hard to police it, because say you buy 30 booth spaces, that comes with a certain amount of badges. So you're always going to have people in there that aren't, and the fact of them being obnoxious and annoying, that comes down to the individual booth bases. You got to be strong enough that you're doing business there to say, I don't have time for this. Hey, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. I don't really have a lot of time right now. You can come back some other time. Or at the end of the day, hey, sorry, right now the cigars we have and the time I'm spending is just with my retail partners, and potential new retail partners. That's okay to say that. And if someone gets offended by it, that's their problem. I'm there to do business. So if you're there to do business and somebody's infringing on your ability to do business, you need to tell them that I don't have time to. And if you're concerned because they're an influencer, and they're going to talk bad about you, then you have to, weigh that issue. And I don't think that's that big of an issue. And if those people have that type of, they got the other person receiving that information has to have the same type of respect back. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's one of those things that, I think that it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds in the future. But yeah, I would say number one thing is, business comes first, and people need to understand that and respect that moving forward on the trade show. I think we've really covered all of the interesting topics of the trade show. We've covered a lot of the drama, the issues, what's new, what we saw. But John, I was curious to know, after all of that, is there anything else that maybe you had questions for us on what we saw, or what happened at the trade show floor, anything that we can account for?
Yeah, so this was your first time going to the trade show.
Yep.
What
As Smokin Tabacco, yes.
What about it surprised you? What was surprising? The biggest thing that surprised you, and then what was one thing you were expecting that you didn't see?
That's an interesting question.
The size of the booths.
The thing for me, though, it's tough because this show is much different than years past. So, I guess I was expecting to have the show smaller than in the past, but it was I think I speak for everyone when I say that it was even smaller than what we expected. Because even Coop, the first night we came in, Coop made a comment along the lines of I knew it was going to be smaller, but wow, that's a tiny show floor. It was smaller, and it doesn't necessarily, like we said, even the people who came, who normally, a lot of those people normally exhibit much larger, and they made it smaller this year. That has an impact. There's the people who didn't come, such as yourselves, and then the main four companies who didn't come have the most massive booths ever seen. So them not being there, obviously, I think people thought it would be a lot smaller, but I don't think everyone took into the account of the smaller guys who have much smaller booths, maybe good sized booths, but smaller booths, who didn't come, as well as the people who did come, who normally exhibit bigger, but their booths were smaller this year. There's different levels of how the show was smaller. I think people just expected it to be bigger than it was, smaller, but bigger than it was. And then when it was all said and done, it was like, wow, this is really small. So I would say that would be my comment on that. And then what did I expect to see that I didn't? I don't know. I don't. That's a tough one to answer because I mean I kind of went into it pretty open-minded and pretty. Everything that I expected to see, I think I either saw or it was maybe different than what I thought, but it still came to fruition in some way. Something that I didn't see. That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, everything kind of was what I expected it to be. I guess I didn't see as much. There was a lot of business being done. I guess it is kind of a small one. So the Gurkha booth, right? This is interesting. This was a little bit of a topic of conversation. So the Gurkha booth, big booth still, as I believe it normally is. Did not see a lot of business going on there. Wasn't as packed as I expected it to be. And at times it seemed a little quiet and slow. And I think there's a few reasons for that that I don't know if we'll get into on the air, but I definitely expected to see a much more bustling Gurkha cigar booth, given their size and everything like that. And it seemed a little quiet and stale for most of the show. I would say that would be my take on that one.
You know, it usually has a very large booth too as Oliva. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that booth.
We did.
Usually theirs is quite substantial in space.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty decent. It wasn't as big as Gurkha, but it was still it was pretty good size. It was pretty good size.
It was probably their standard size then.
But that booth was banging for most of the show, as was like Placencia had a decent sized booth. They were banging. Padron.
Theirs
massive
was, I think,
booth.
normal booth.
I think they brought their regular
Padron's
booth.
was their normal booth.
Yeah.
And that one was always busy. Rocky Patel had a full-size booth. That one was busy. Gurkha had arguably, footprint-wise, the largest booth on the show floor. Not a lot of traffic. I mean, there was people there, but not like the other big booths were. I mean, the other big booths were busy, and they were not. And I thought that was very interesting. Nicole, do you have any takes on this? Can you answer these questions? No?
I agree.
You just agree with what I said?
Yeah, because we saw the same things.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. So, yeah.
Like
That would be oh, excuse me. It's been a long week. That would be my interesting tidbit. And I think in terms of the Gurkha booth thing, I think that without really getting too into it, because I don't want to, I think maybe, John, you might have some idea as to why maybe that booth wasn't very busy, given its size, and other booths were. And I know a few other people who I talked to who attended the show kind of said the same thing. So,
yeah, well, I mean, obviously they had some social issues over the last year and a half, but their booth doesn't tend to be crazy all around anyway because their products they offer deals throughout the year. There's regular deals going on. So, and you get like say you miss it, you know what I mean? That you're going to be able to catch up on it if it's something that you need and have to have. So I think they're aggressive year round with deals. There's other companies that are too, but I think they're real aggressive year round with deals, and that plays a role in that too, where it's not a necessity of doing business. If you don't have to get there to get the deal, you don't have to rush to do it because the deal's going to be there for you.
absolutely. And I think a lot of manufacturers who didn't attend the show, it sounded from the retailers I spoke to, they had already kind of reached out and done some orders in business and offered some incentives and deals before a lot of retailers even got to Las Vegas for the trade show. So you're going to see a lot of that going on too, and that's a very good point that you make. But other than that, that's the bulk of my my post-game show, I would say, for PCA 2021.
I would say, for me, looking on the outside, the thing I expected more that I didn't see was I know it was covered in the individual booths by a lot of media outlets. I was surprised at how little attention, and maybe I just missed it, but how little attention I saw to the PCA exclusives in terms of people posting about them individually, talking about them individually, because it was a huge build-up to the show. And I know there was a lot of retailers that went because of the exclusive series. I have to be there because I'm a major retailer, and I have to have these exclusive series. So I was kind of surprised that I haven't seen more of that. Maybe it's because the products aren't out there yet. I know some of them are arriving in stores. I think Pete Johnson's is starting to show up for some of the people. But I was surprised that there was there wasn't as much commotion as I expected from people, and a much discussion, even for the people that I talked to that were at the show when they were there, of those exclusives. Because I thought that was played up real big going into the show, and then seeming when we got there, it wasn't the highlight, and it wasn't the main discussion point, which I expected to be. We're going to really play this thing up.
Absolutely, I would agree with you on that too. There wasn't as many show exclusives, but the ones that were there, it seemed like they were there, but they kind of fell by the wayside because that really wasn't the focus of attention. The focus of attention, I think, was people just talking in general. I think the biggest part of the show was people just wanted to get together to catch up because they had a lot of these people haven't met in 2 years because they maybe they only meet at the trade show, and there wasn't a trade show last year. Maybe they didn't go to TPE, and TPE is a different show, and that's a whole nother conversation. But, for a lot of people, I think that this trade show was the first time that they were able to connect in like 2 years, which I think is a big deal. So I think that was more the emphasis, and a lot of other things were the emphasis. And then it's like, well, we also has our show exclusive. I went to a lot of booths where we talked to them, and they talked about everything else except for their show exclusive. And I was like, well, what do you have for an exclusive? Oh, yeah. It's over here. And that was kind of the way. And not that it's a bad thing. I think, and again, I don't want anyone to take the wrong way. I wasn't knocking anyone for that. It's just I think that there's a lot of other bigger things on people's minds at this trade show versus, you know what I mean? And then that's not a bad thing either. I mean, it's been business-wise, it's been a rocky 24 months.
But I do think it's I don't know if it's a missed opportunity yet, but I think it's something that they'll need to examine in the future. I mean, those PCA exclusives are one of the reasons why you're going to want to be there as a retailer. Because if you're not there, you can't get them. And I think that needs to be played up huge. I think every day the PCA needs to go around and do a live video smoking an exclusive at one of the booths. I think there needs to be a picture of all the exclusives they had in one place. Come to the PCA show to get this. So whenever you can play up that product, I think that was one of the things that they're going to need to use going forward to try to encourage more attendance. And it obviously worked because there were people that went out. I know that I spoke to that are major retailers that all right, I want to go out and support the show, but the main reason I'm going, I got to get these exclusives because I can't not have these products in my retail store with this big push that's going to be behind it. So I'd like to see a bigger push on that during the show. Maybe there will be after. But that was, for me, one of the more surprising things that I saw coming out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. But, it was a long show. It was a busy show. It was a crazy show. We worked it. We worked it hard.
Tired.
To all the people who attended, thank you for coming, and to all the other, like I said, I want to not only just shout out to like the Cigar Coop team, the How About That Cigar team. The Half Wheel guys were there. They were working it. Patrick Brooks and Charlie. I ran into all of them, and they were really getting after it. And everyone kind of had their challenges or whatever. The Playman's Puff guys. I was able to do my Matt Booth impersonation with those guys at the Room 101 booth before Matt came in and tapped in to take over. Literally.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to say, to Matt, thanks for an amazing weekend. I don't think either one of us are ever going to forget it. He knows what I'm talking about. There was supposed to be a sex swing in the Room 101 booth. The bass did not show up. The swing was there, but the bass wasn't. Such a missed opportunity in my book. There was some Astroglide there. And condoms were given out, but that swing, what a missed opportunity. I could tell Matty was a little let down by that. But as he said, next year's a new year, so we'll see what happens. No, it was great. To the people who did come, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us the time. Nicole did a hell of a job, getting all of our content up online. She's still got more to do. I have more to do. She's got more to do, but I just, want to say, good job to Nicole. Thank you for all your help. You did a great job. And also, I want to take a minute to thank everyone who follows us for the engagement, celebration, congratulatory comments. Thank you very much for all that, all the love and support. We really appreciate that. It's been a very fun week. So thank you. That was the talk of the show on day 2. It was like, oh, congratulations. I mean, we were on to people we don't even know. who like follow us online, which is great, and I love them all. And thank you for following. It's hard to like know who everyone's face is, but people come up and like, congratulations. I'm like, thank you.
And there might be a PCA wedding.
There may be.
2022.
There may be. I think this wedding is also going to happen in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Not the cheesy kind, but the nice, more formal kind. But I think it will probably happen out here as well. That's what Nicole's leaning towards. So
Yep.
I told her she can have whatever she wants. I'm learning early, so. But yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. So if you're going to PCA next year, yeah, there could be some wedding parties that are going on too, and you are invited. So. We'll get into that as we get closer, but I think that's it. I'm good. I think I'm good on my post game coverage, John. How you feeling?
I'm excellent, man. I think you guys did a great job with the show. I'm glad to be back on here after a few weeks absence. But enjoy the rest of your time there in Vegas. Enjoy the shows tonight. I'll be in Georgia next week up there, and then we've got our gourmet smoke session on July 28th. And then we also got a quick turnaround. We got one early in August, too, August 14th. This is a gourmet smoke session with our friends at Havana House up in Ohio. This is the cupcake. We're going to be doing the cupcake.
Ooh.
There. So we've got the cupcake, and it's not what you think of a cupcake. This is a 6.5 by 60 ring gauge double arrow.
Ooh.
And that's for our friend Maddie Cupcakes who runs Havana House West.
Wow.
And then obviously July 29th, we've got the Regency Cigar Emporium 25th anniversary celebration and gourmet smoke session there. And I'm smoking that cigar now. So, no, we're good. We got all sorts of stuff going on. I'll be back next week with you guys on Thursday.
Boom.
I think next week we have Terrence Riley from Mackinac and Leaf, do we not?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So we get Terrence. We can talk to Terrence about how, even though I may be ineligible, I've given him a run for his money in the Coop Selfie Airport contest. And he continues to try to be creative, although his flight home to Miami from PCA was that of the electrical port on the airplane for plugging in your phone. That was his creative photo. It's a little weak. Like, I get it, but, like, how about the guy, Matt and Garrett from How About That Cigar? They got a cockpit photo. So, I mean, if I was eligible, that would have given me a run for my money, but I'm not eligible, so
I think
they're in the
our
lead.
photo is better.
I think ours is better,
Yeah.
but in terms of official eligible winners, I think right now they're in the lead. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but
That's
has
pretty
to
good.
be to promote Cigar Coop. That doesn't promote him.
So I've got,
True.
I have a secret weapon that I'm going to bring up right now. Do you still have the Cigar Coop cutout?
So actually,
No.
funny story about that, and Nicole keeps not posting the video, even though I've asked her to, but we took the poster with us to the show floor. My intention was to give it to Coop, because I was like, you know what, we'll give it to him, whatever. I got the bright idea as we're walking through the convention hall.
I got the bright idea.
Okay, whatever, Nicole. I get the idea
Whatever you want, Nicole, except this idea is mine.
Yes.
that, hey, let's have everyone sign it. So I literally went from booth to booth, and I grabbed everyone and said, hey, we're doing this thing for Coop. And everyone was like, I told them, they were like, oh, fuck yeah. I went to Pete Johnson, Michael Herklotz,
Everyone.
you name it, everyone. Jose Blanco did it. The Newmans did it. I think the only person that didn't do it was maybe Rocky Patel. Kirk Kendall did it. Jeff
Everyone
Warshowitz
signed
did it.
the giant cutout.
Abe Dababna did it. And every time I showed them, they'd see all the signatures, they'd be like, oh, yeah. And they'd like, yeah, let me sign that. And they loved it. And then at the end, I said, Cooper, I have this poster for you. And he was like, oh, great. Yeah, I wanted to see it. And I go, I have a little bit of a surprise for you, though. And he's like, oh, okay. And I opened it, and I said, I got literally everyone I could on the show floor to sign this for you. And he's like, oh, my God. And he was all excited. I thought he was going to cry. I felt, there was a lot of emotion there. Everybody loves Coop. He's like that guy in the industry that I think we all love. That, he's like maybe the quiet kid in the corner, but we all love him. And we all want to show him our love. And everyone was excited for that.
So what I'm saying is I need another copy of that thing, and I'm going to take Coop places he's never been before.
Ooh.
He's talking about like the bathroom when he's taking a dump.
I'm coming in really hot. If you can get me another copy of that, I'm going to take this to an entirely different level.
Easy.
And I'm going to come back the second half of the year and play in the second half. I'm going to be like the New England Patriots. We're going to come back 28-3 and win this game. So I need that cutout, and I'm taking Coop to high places.
Okay.
I can have a couple copies printed and
Yep.
emailed to you, or shipped to you rather soon. You
ASAP.
just need to tell me which one of your 3 addresses you'd like me to send it to. That's all. Yeah, even he doesn't know. He's like, oh yeah, I don't know.
I lose track of them.
But yeah,
No, it was awesome, guys. You guys crushed it, and wish I could have been out there this year, but we'll go strong next year. And I said it was still great to follow. It was interesting to follow it from afar, and from afar, everything looked excellent on what you guys presented. And
Well,
like I said, I felt like the show was good too.
You better be there next year because there's a wedding.
Well,
So-
yeah,
I'll be there one way. I'll be there one way or another.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, even if you don't exhibit, which I don't think that you will, like I think you'll definitely be there, but you're gonna have to come because there might be a wedding for you to attend to, and you're not missing that. So they're gonna hold that
So
over
I
your
will-
head.
John Carney will be at next year's PCA show, one way or the other. John
Boom.
Carney will be.
We're gonna hold you to that because I mean, I need some groomsmen in the wedding, so you're up.
Yeah, we
You're up, kid.
We just looked at venues and we're about to put a deposit down. So
Yeah.
Boom,
Whatever
boom.
she wants.
yeah, that's what he says. But he wants to get married in Vegas. So
Yeah, I do, but you know, whatever she wants to do, I'm not picky. Whatever she picks will be happy. I'll be happy with. So that's it. That's all I got. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for all of the coverage. I'm watching all of our coverage rather.
Yep.
Don't forget to check out all of the interviews on YouTube. We're still uploading them. There's a lot of them up, but there's a lot more to go. It's just like I said,
there's like 5 or 6.
our
I think, too.
our internet out in Vegas right now in the hotel and stuff like that's a little slow, so we're working on that. And there'll also be more stuff coming on the website when we really have time to get down and write some stuff and shake some stuff out as time goes on. So just keep an eye out for that. Be patient, and we'll see you next week with Terrence Riley. It's gonna be a great time.
Boom.
We'll see you guys later. Take care.
Bye.